What we are going to look at right now is ways to take input from a user, try to identify whether the user has given us a number by parsing. We will then do some kind of a process with the numbers and we will give an output. And then I will leave you with an exercise. So all I want is your attention. I don't really want you to type it up, because if I type, you type, and you have to copy it exactly as I've typed it, and your program runs and my program runs, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have learned a lot. But if you understand what I'm trying to teach you, how programming works, and then you type it up and you type it up with a complete understanding of what each line does, and your program runs, then that's of great benefit to you and of great satisfaction to me that you have learned. Okay. So we learned just a quick recap. We learned that window.alert actually gives something out. If I say boo-hoo, it's going to actually say boo-hoo. And of course I need a semicolon. JavaScript is very forgiving, doesn't mind it. But there's a new one that I'm going to teach you for input, and that's the prompt function, window.prompt. And this will prompt a user. It's just like the alert. It is just like the alert, except it comes up in a box and gives you a window to type into. Okay, so window.prompt. Hi there, what's your name? Okay. Now just look at it. Don't type this yet. Just look at this, please. Okay, look at it. Try to understand this. So if I actually now go and use window.prompt, you see I've got an alert box, but this time I've got something to type. I've got a dialog box to type something in it. Cool. Now because I get a dialog box, I can actually do this. This function prompt inside the brackets can be used in different ways. It actually gives me two parameters. The second parameter can be a hint. First name please, let's say. Okay, suppose I type first name please, and then I run my program. See that dialog box now comes with a message that whatever you type here should be your first name. So this function, it has two parts called parameters, and the arguments that are passed into a function. The function can accept more than one parameter. So the prompt function really has got two things. You can do it. And window.prompt. Now let's say I go back to my program and I say, I'll close this one. Where's my Chrome? Let me close Dreamweaver. Let me just clean up my windows. I've got some shopping list open. What else do I have open? That's all. Okay, first name please. If I say Dilip, what happened? Nothing happened. Did it say hello Dilip? Now one reason it did not say hello Dilip was because I don't have an output statement. The second reason is, whatever I typed Dilip, where did it go? It went nowhere. I need to put it inside a variable. So I can have a variable called name. Last time we did this. Okay, just try to understand. Last time we did this. We said variable name equals Dilip. We hard coded the string Dilip into the code. We hard coded it. But that program will always recognize name as Dilip. There's no scope for Andrew to use my program and say, hey, you know what, I'm Andrew. And there's no scope for Patrick to use it. I'm just again doing my thing, trying to remember names. Now I remember Samuel, but the guy next to Samuel, I keep forgetting his name. Louis. Yes. So Louis has no scope to enter his name in the code. But if I say variable name, and then I can say name is equal to this. Yeah, this will work. Pretty solid. But even this will work. Variable name in one line, even this will work. But you understand what this whole thing is. This whole thing is nothing but me defining a variable name, and then whatever the user gives is going to be stored inside name. So I just want to show of hands, what do you guys prefer? Do you think variable name in one line and then name equal to so and so is better, or you prefer the one line thing? Show of hands please. One liners? Not many. We'll do it in 2 lines. But those who, obviously those of you who want it as one line, you understand it, which means by all means go ahead and use one line, okay? Those of you who understand it as one line, and two different things for me. If you understand, play with your code, do different things. So I've got a variable called name. Then in that variable, I'm going to store whatever the user gives me. I'm just going to take a name, and this is a very old school programming exercise, and variable suburb is equal to what's your suburb name please, and I'll just copy this whole line, and I'll say pet, what's your pet's name, please. And there's a very old programming assignment that says you take a man or a woman and take their suburb name and their pet name, and you can create a rock star name for them. So tomorrow if I joined a band and I did not like Dilip Katiyar, I wanted to run something cooler, then I would have something like this. Your rock star name is, okay? So if I became a rock star, my name would be plus name, plus I need a space bar, plus suburb, plus pet name, plus pet. So I've taken input and I'm going to give an output. The input has been stored in variables. The input has been stored in variables. And let me see if I can run this session 1B. It should run. So what's your name? I just said Dilip, Akashia, pet's name Ruffles. I don't have a pet, I'm making it up. So if I became a rock star, my name would be Dilip Akashia Ruffles. So you see, if you ever find a record released by this name, that's my JavaScript teacher, hey, he's become a rock star. And it's just an example to let you know about inputs and outputs. I'm going to go on with this session, probably make it into a longer session. But I want to do something. So this is fairly simple. In terms of understanding, does everybody understand that? We took input, we put it in a variable, and we spewed it out. Okay, let's do something more. Okay, so I won't halt here. I'm going to comment this out. So when I upload this sample, you all know how to get this back. Just remove this multi-line comment tags, okay? And the code comes back. Is that cool? Yep. If you remove these tags, you will get back the code from my example. So let's do the next exercise. Now, if I have an example, I'm just going to copy the variable. No need to type. Variable number 1. Please enter a number. And I can put something like, within the quotes, I can give an example of what it should look like, you know. So let me see if this works. Please enter a number, and it gives that 0 that I'm expecting a number, okay. Now, there are a few things. I can ask the user to enter a whole number, or I can ask the user to enter a decimal number, or I can be prepared for both. So let me just show you how this works. Now, does everybody understand that when I prompt a user, this number goes and sits in number 1, and when I say document.write num1. Now, I don't put num1 in quotes because num1 is a variable. Does everybody understand that? If I put num1 like this, then if I enter 234, it says num1. Does everybody understand? The quotes means it will put it as it is. But the moment I say num1 without the quotes, it assumes that num1 is a variable. And if I actually say number 1, it does nothing. It actually tells me somewhere here under tools, JavaScript console, it says undefined. Number 1 is not defined. What do you mean by number 1? I'm looking for the variable, I can't find it. Not defined. Because I have stored it in num1, I must use num1. Do these programming concepts make sense? You stored it in num1, you call from num1. So I can't call my son like Rohan. I name him Rohan and I keep calling him, hey Dinesh, come here, come here. It's like, same thing with programs. What you name. And even num1 small and num1 capital are different. Okay? So as it is, very case sensitive. So now when I say num1 and I close this and I put 224, I've put in a number, I get a number. Pretty good. But what happens is, if Daniel, he thinks, this is Dilip's program, let me break it. Enter a number. Daniel goes, nah, Daniel. Okay, he wants a number. I'm Daniel 27. Yep. It gives Daniel 27. Now is Daniel 27 a number? Can I do something? Can I add Daniel 27 to 15? So you can parse it before you store, or even after you store the information in the variable. You can use a function to parse it. Parsing is check character by character whether the user has given a number. That's parsing, step by step, one by one. Okay, let's parse it. There's a function called parse it. I can say num1 is equal to parseInt num1. Let's understand this fully. So whatever Daniel gave me, it went into num1, right? Whatever Daniel gave me went into num1. Now whatever is in num1, I am parsing it. I'm checking for an integer, parsing it for an integer, and I'm storing it back in num1. Parse num1 and store it back in num1. Like sort of filter it and store it back, and then write it out. Let's try again. Daniel tries to break it again. It says nan. Nan, awesome. It's really my favorite word. I could make t-shirts of it, You could make a rock song of it just using nan, saying it in different melodies and different tunes. Nan. Nan stands for? You can even make a song, not a number. Somebody wants to sing it? You could make a whole song with not a number. Yes, not a number. There you go, Daniel. You get stuffed. You broke the code. Daniel 27 is not a number. And the program says, did not I ask you to enter a number? Okay. Now let's see this. Now Mr. Daniel won't give up. Mr. Daniel is still going to try to break Dilip's code. So let's say Daniel tries 27, Dilip. What's going to happen? Any guesses? Not a number? How many people agree with him? How many people you agree with him? Who does not agree with him? Okay. You don't agree with him. Can you stand up, please? So he was right. And I keep forgetting your name. Your name is Vinny. So Vinny, thank you. Vinny was right. Why was Vinny right? I don't know if Vinny knows it himself. Do you know why you were right? Sorry? Okay, you just sort of took a guess, you took a punt. Maybe you can buy the lotto today. Okay. The reason Vinny was right, understand this. Understand this and you will understand parsing. We typed 27, Daniel, this time, right? How does parse work? Parse went and said 2. Is 2 an integer by itself? Yes, 2 is an integer. It put it inside the variable. Is 7 an integer? Yes, it went inside the variable, 2 went, 7 went. Is D an integer? The parsing stopped. Parsing has stopped. So that's why we got 27. Is the concept clear now? How computers are working? Now another question. Daniel won't give up. He still wants to break the code. So if he goes 27, but let's say we have gone enough of Daniel. I remember Bowden, Gopi. Your name is? The one right here? Seamus. Okay. So let's say now Seamus tries something smart. Shay and goes for, he tries to write M as a 3. You know, sometimes you have these things you can do. Or let's say he's gone for A with a 4. S E A M U S, or S is a 5. If I now enter this, what will come out? Who said 27? And who thinks it will be 2735? You both think it's 2735. Holly thinks it's 2735. Okay, who said 27? Stand up, your name is? Kainan. I should remember Kainan. Kainan is right. Now, why were you wrong? I'll tell you, you should know why you were wrong. So, when you type something like 27 S E A M U S, it is true that there are numbers after S, but the parsing function is not that smart. Parsing says 2 is an integer, 7 is an integer, S, somebody is messing with me. And after you messed with parsing once, it just doesn't give you a second chance. Sure, there's another number here, but parsing just has bailed out on you. Yeah. So parsing is gone, bailed out, so you have 27. So is that part clear for parsing? The same thing works for parse float. So if I take this whole exercise and I say parse float. So whenever you are expecting something which is either an integer or a decimal, like for example in a game, number of lives, you are expecting integers, 0, 1, 2, 0 lives left, game over, 1, 2, 3, 4. But health you can expect in percentages, you know. So there are many things you can expect, the distance that is covered, the distance that is walked, you know. Many things that are floating point numbers, the length or the width of something. So parse float, I'm going to have a second one. Now just to be syntactically correct, I'm going to say where. Actually, I'll copy this whole block. Now I've got a number 2. And this time I'm going to check whether it's a floating point number. A floating point number is a decimal number in plain English. I'm going to check number 2. And be careful when you copy and paste code, because I do it a lot of times, I know this. So this is number 1. I'm writing the code again. That's why I'm pasting it. I'm making sure it's 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay? And I'm just going to try to kill these lines so that you can see my script. Now we are entering a floating point number. So the first one was, let's say 45. Dilip should give me 45. The second one is decimal. So if I go 45.67 Dilip, it should say 45.67. Okay, and the reason they're sitting next to each other because if I want it in separate lines, I can say things like the integer you entered was, okay, and if I come back here, the decimal you entered was, and I'll just put a break here just so that we can tidy it up. So the main thing is I want you to understand what's happening here, and Nathan has saved me a lot of time, seconds in my life, whatever is left of it, because I would have spent the rest of my life doing this for every bracket. So the millions of times I'm going to use the bracket tag, I've saved a million seconds. I don't think there are a million seconds left in my life, but still, yeah. Okay, let's go. So we have 47 Kainan, we will get 47, and Kainan, Seamus, Bowden, Lachlan, I think I know most names now. Byron, yeah. Kressler, what was your first name? Kieran. So let's go 65, Kieran. So that should give me 65. Oh, let me try it again. 45 Kieran and 65.56. So it gives me 65.56. What happens if I actually try to enter a decimal here? 25.467. This is the num1 which is asking for an integer. What will happen? Any guesses? 25, yes, because it will ignore the decimal. And this one, if I just give it an integer, it will still work, because float will accept an integer and a floating point number. Okay, so now you know how to take input of a number, how to parse it, and how to output it. I'm going to give you a simple process. So after I get both my numbers, I'll make both of them float in this case, just to make it easy. And I will leave that one line as a comment just in case. So these are comments, okay, guys? Use parse int to seek an integer as an input. Hopefully you all know by now how to use my files. So this is a comment, right? So I've just given this because so that I want you to have the code. So that's kept inside a code, okay? So there's a bit of a comment there. I'll just save some space. So that's a comment. So I've taken input number one, and that's input number two. I'm going to add. So I'm going to say total. That's a variable, so I technically should say variable total is equal to num1 plus num2. Variable difference is equal to num1 minus num2. Now don't worry if one is bigger than the other, it will give you a negative. I can always say if number 1 is greater than number 2, do this. If number 2 is greater than number 1, do it the other way around. But for now, just leave this. Variable product is equal to num1 multiplied by number 2. Variable quotient. I'll go remainder. I'll do remainder and quotient. Quotient is equal to num1 divided by num2. If you enter number 2 as 0, it will say undefined. Variable remainder equals num1. Any ideas? Modulus, which is the percentage symbol, will calculate the remainder of two numbers. Something which is quite often asked in aptitude tests in your QCS exam, you have a sequence, and usually you have three numbers, and the pattern is one of the numbers is the remainder from 2. Not easy to pick up. especially for non-programmers, because we never are taught in school the importance of a remainder. For a programmer, remainders is, we play with it a lot. So I was looking at my son's aptitude test and even UMAT exams. I think my daughter's preparing for it. So a lot of questions actually use remainder, and they've used a different logic to come up with an answer. But I look at the questions and sometimes I get them thinking it's a remainder. Useful one for programmers. So I've got the total, I've got the difference, I've got the product, I've got the quotient, I've got the remainder. I don't need this. Actually, let it be there. The total of both, the total was, the total was, what should come here? The total was, somebody help me. Total, thank you. Kiran, thank you Kiran. The total was total. And you are going to write the remaining statements, which is the difference was come on guys, talk to me. Diff, good. Okay, and you can write the other two. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording here. It's a long session and we'll do the exercise after this.